This is an interview in the series Women Around the World, a mosaic of feminine impressions and inspiration in times of Corona. My name is Cécile Masson. I'm the author of Rose Letters of Love to Life, and I'm a leadership coach. I have the pleasure to share this virtual space today with Burcu Çakin. Welcome, Burcu.
Thank you, Cécile. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me to this beautiful mosaic and be a part of this mosaic.
You're most welcome. You're calling in from Istanbul, or no, you're not in Istanbul today.
No, I am on the Aegean coast of Turkey, very close to Bodrum. I have a beautiful sea view that way, so I'm in my parents' summer house.
Beautiful. Thank you for taking the time, Burcu. Tell me a little bit more about you and your activities, in general, your professional activities, and what you would like to share just now.
All right. I'm a professional coach. I work mostly with executives on leadership or executive teams on managing with inclusive management, inclusive leadership. I'm a team coach as well, and I facilitate more like transformational programs. And like you, and this is how I met you, I'm a faculty leader for Coming Into Your Own, which is a women inner leadership program here in Turkey, and we do this program for now over 10 years almost. And I'm a mother of two. I have a son who is 20 years old and a daughter who is 18. So this is how I can summarize who I am, or what I do rather.
Thank you, Burcu. You're also what we would call somebody who is working from nature and through nature as well. Would you like to say something more about this?
I feel I am very deeply connected with nature. I feel all human beings are connected, but we lost this connection. And over the last few years, I started finding different ways of strengthening this connection. And for that reason, I started working with a Native American women, learning their shamanic practices and knowledge about traditions about medicine wheels. And I have become a council guide, which means now I have been certified to disseminate some of these very, very old indigenous wisdom. And I mean, Anatolia, where we live, our lands also are possess this knowledge, but we lost it somewhere on the way, especially in terms of feminine power. You can see all this from the runes. So what is in my heart now is to really rebuild that connection, especially for women, the connection between earth and women through various ways.
Wonderful. Thank you, Burcu. How has COVID-19 affected you personally?
Different ways at different stages. At the very beginning, it was more of a very personal concern, not about myself, my life, my health, but more about my son, who lives in away in UK because of his studies. And I put all my focus on getting him here somehow, but we couldn't act on time. We couldn't find tickets, and he had to stay. And at the beginning it was very difficult for me, but then why amn't I using my coaching skills, any other leadership skills to just not to create stories, you know. And because I realized my psychological mood during those times affected negatively my daughter at home who was with me. So it started like that with a personal issue, personal concern, but then I found peace in women's circles virtually. Here we have a very large community, the alumni, CIYO alumni, that we are actively in touch with through various means. So I thought, you know, navigating through this time, which really involves different feelings, fear, perhaps anger, grief, just getting together, although we are isolated, through different opportunities. One was we started reading the book by Clarice Estes, the woman who ran with the wolves, and we realized that was a beautiful idea, that book during these times, and not reading alone, reading together with a group of women. We, in a way, formed as container for ourselves, and we shared our experiences by means of the book. Actually, while interpreting the book, we started reading ourselves. So that was a beautiful way of getting ourselves together. And then I said, my morning practices, the shamanic practices, why don't I do it again together with a circle, and I'm doing it alone? So I introduced that to various groups, men and women. So we started practicing this twice a week. This is in a way, a love song that we sing to our relatives, meaning grandfather, son, sacred grandfather, son, sacred grandmother, earth, plants, animals, human, sacred human. And there's, again, wisdom, a mindset behind this song. There are hand movements. So I started sharing this information with the group. And it created a different atmosphere. It's not being connected with each other. It felt like being connected with our ancestor spirits. Although it was a Native American tradition, it felt so Anatolian, so Turkish in a way. Although we were not in the nature, again, it made us feel like we were in the nature. So that was another tool for strengthening our centeredness, maybe I should say. So during this, at the beginning, after recovering from that personal concern, I experienced the period, Cécile, as a retreat in a way, not isolation or a pandemic. Of course, it's very critical health-wise. You have concerns. I had, I have parents over 80 years old. Why to be concerned? They are safe at home. So because everything stopped, all work-related part, and I realized I really needed that pause. I took this time to nurture my body and my spirit. So it was, in a way, a retreat with women again. So that far was good. But by the end, like a month ago, I lost my father. And that was a very sudden loss. Thank you. Before the pandemic, he had nothing. He was a very healthy, old, man, but with a young spirit, very active. But what happened here? The government banned the elder people to go out, or if you are over 65 years old, you are banned to go out 7 days, 24 hours, 7 days for 3 months. So I think it's called curfew, right, in English?
That's right.
So I know some people, they didn't listen to this, and they took themselves out in the streets, and just for the activity itself, for the exercise. But my parents, they are very to the rules. They said we shouldn't go out, and my mother probably she did more exercise because she was doing the housework, and she did her exercises on a regular basis. For some reason, my father stopped, and so we realized he was getting slower and slower, mostly sleeping. Anyway, I'm not going to make this story long. One day, he just fainted. So we had to take him to the hospital. And the hospitals, as you know, they are the most dangerous places those times. So apparently he had a heart attack a few days ago, and he lived afterwards without noticing. Nobody noticed he had a heart attack. His heart was in a very severe condition, and his veins as well. They couldn't really did anything to his veins, but he recovered a little bit. He came home, and at that time my son came back from UK. It was mid June. It was very close to Father's Day, so we had him tested. So he was negative. We were very happy. Okay, we can take him to my parents. So we went to celebrate his Father's Day. At the time when I reached their building, there was an ambulance in front of the building, and that was for my father.
I'm so sorry.
And that was the last time we saw him, and he didn't realize he was not conscious. So, I used to say at the beginning, there's grief. This period is full of endings, beginnings, but for anything to begin, we need to really honor the ending first. And ending comes with sorrow, whatever is the ending. It may be a human life, it may be a project, it may be a part of myself that I decide to leave behind because I realize that it's not serving me during this time. I was practicing some endings in other terms during this, but this ending came very tough.
Yeah. I'm not going to ask you the same questions as I normally do, because this is such a personal story, Burcu, that you're sharing, and I'm really thankful for that. Was there a way that other people could help you in this period? Because obviously you were still also on lockdown in Turkey at the time, and was there a way that you could find some form of support from people outside of your own home?
Yes, Cécile, and now I know better what treasure means. The friendship, the sisterhood, that women's circle is so precious. I mean, I tell you the story. Because of the curfew, any gatherings, of course, are banned. Weddings are banned, and any activities, including I forgot the English version. What do you do when someone is someone dies. It's a funeral.
Funeral.
Funeral with the participation of crowds are banned. Usually there's, in my religion, in Islam, when someone dies, you take him first, you go to the mosque, you pray with the crowd at the mosque, a special prayer. And then from the mosque, you go to the funeral, the place where together with the imam, you do the ceremony. So it was only allowed to first blood, close, very close family. So then you realize how important and precious to have that people around you. Although you don't speak, they don't do anything. They just hold the energy. Mm-hmm. But we didn't have that. I don't know. I don't want to say opportunity, but that we didn't experience it that way. It was very lonely. And but then you come home. There are other traditions you do. Usually, for at least a week or so, food you don't. It's not cooked at in that house. Everybody else brings the food because people need to really leave that grief and not occupy themselves with cooking. And so this is the reason. We did some of the rituals. I mean, rituals, when you get the essence, the meaning, it's very impactful. But most of it, we couldn't do it the way how we would like to, the way how we would like him, his spirit to experience. But amazingly and beautifully, what I experienced, and I think he did too, it was because of this beautiful circle of women. They said, Burcu, we want to do a grief circle for you, a virtual grief circle. We don't know what it means. We have never heard it. We have never been a part of it. But we will share our prayers, our thoughts, our wishes, anything we would like to share with you in that virtual circle. And we would like you to share whatever you would like to share. So we were like close to 20 women and men. They organized that. They came with poems. They came with artwork. They came with stories. They came with their own experiences with the loss of their fathers. That was so healing, Cécile. So healing. It was more powerful, more deep than any physical gathering. Because in physical gatherings, you don't speak, you just stay quiet. There was a different mysterious power in that too, but what they gave me as a gift, and I recorded it, and afterwards I shared it with my mother. My mother got very touched with what they said. It was very, very precious. And especially I shared a video with my father just a year ago, I guess it was either last year or the year before, where we were dancing in the middle of the house, in the living room, doing samba, and he was like screaming, chanting, and with Cuban music, and so we really honored his young soul, and everybody said a few words about this relationship, him and anyway, so that was unforgettable.
Yeah, and I sense it. I really can sense that you were held in that moment by this women's circle. So let's say the fact of curing a circle like that, like you do in Turkey, and you've built a wonderful community of women in Turkey. how important it is to actually meet and hold that space together where everything is possible and where your present is being appreciated for what it is, and feels like you've really honored your father's presence in this gathering as well, if I may call it that way.
Yes, yes. Yeah, I mean, it's what I realize, and I am very happy to see in me, is before crying was difficult for me. I was a very tough woman, strong, whatever it meant. And tears to me were signs of weakness. This is how mostly, women are not, even, in traditions like ours. What I meant by that is, we are, I feel more comfortable in opening ourselves and sharing our stories. There's no much social or other distances in between. But still, if we cry, we start apologizing from people around us. My apologies, I'm so sorry I'm crying. I'm so sorry I'm crying. Or if someone cries, the usual reaction from the people around are, giving some handkerchief and making that person not cry. Over the years, I think with this coming into your own women's circles, I finally discovered the power in tears, the power in feelings, the power of connection so deeply. It's the vulnerability, as always Brené Brown puts it. It's such a strength.
So yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
If we just zoom out a little bit as a leadership coach, and if you look at the bigger patterns in the context of Corona, but also outside of context of Corona, are you saying that the power of emotion is something that has been like suppressed and neglected in all kinds of situations where decision making is also coming into place?
Exactly. We deal with this same bias. Just, it's a bias. But again, from this Native American wisdom, from the medicine wheels, there's a beautiful saying, they resemble feelings to plants, sacred plants. Because in both cases, if you use them in a correct way, they heal you, emotions as well as plants. But if you don't use them in a correct way, they poison you. So with plants and emotions, there resides power and danger. And what it means to use them correctly is to notice the feeling and to understand the information behind it. I'm feeling this way because the way how I look at this situation is this. Because of my perspective, my feeling is triggered. Okay, so is there any different way of looking at it? If I cannot find it, maybe I should just express what how I interpret this situation to the person next to me, because he is involved as well. So it gives you that information that you can grasp from the feeling, gives you the power. So you start managing your feeling. It's not controlling your feeling. In most of the coaching agenda, executives come with, I need to learn how to control my feelings. You cannot control your feelings. You can understand your feelings and you can manage them. Then it becomes a power. But if the feeling controls you and manages you, then it's a danger. So realizing that, and there's no negative or positive feelings, there are just feelings. But the danger creates the negative behavior, negative reaction. The negativity doesn't come from the feeling. It comes if I cannot, if the feeling manages me, directs me. This is where it goes negative.
And certainly when it is suppressed as well.
When it's suppressed, not expressed, because in some place it will explode.
Yeah, yeah. It's beautiful to hear your dogs in the background. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Burcu, to conclude this interview, is there anything you would like to share that is in the sense of some kind of practice for leaders, or that they can use when they are in a situation like we are facing at the moment, which is a pandemic, which is huge, which is going to change the world, how we do things? Where would you say that I could give some attention to, and what is your message in this sense?
I believe men and women in the corporate world or not, we need to understand and learn how to use the power of our emotions and intuitions, especially in a world where technology is it's insane how much and how fast it develops. This artificial intelligence, it replicates the human analytical skills, the brain, the IQ. So how I can differentiate myself, how I can stay as human and not be afraid of this coming artificial intelligence, by reverting back to my very innate abilities like feelings and intuition. These are also source of information. We lost our trust on those source of information. So what I would suggest is, asking ourselves from time to time, how am I feeling now? I am reacting, but what is the feeling behind? Or I need to make a decision. What my heart tells me, what is my intuition tells me. And if there's a feeling, not to suppress it, because the feeling, we leave the feeling behind only if we go through the feeling, not by suppressing it. If I realize the feeling and if I live it, I go through it, then I can leave it behind me. Otherwise, it's always a potential. It may become a hurdle, it may become a poison, it may become a danger. So this is my story about the pandemic, the Corona days.
Thank you so much, Burcu, for sharing.
Thank you, Cécile. Thank you.
Beautiful.
You open